Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time. Thanks for coming out. I recently got this Echo hedger in a group deal. I got a yard machine pusher with rat damage to the tank for $20, and then I paid $20 for this Echo HC1500. It's been well used, I believe, just by looking at it. It's been used commercially. So the scrapper said it ran, and you know what my philosophy is on what he means by runs versus starts. It did start. He had trouble starting it maybe after 20 pulls. So anyway, I spent some time on it. I couldn't get it started after that, or it would barely run. So I kind of looked into it, and as always, I find issues. This Echo was no exception. So I guess we'll start with the carburetor, and then we'll talk about the fuel. Notice that the priming bulb was not correct, and one of these screws was missing. So the thing was leaking fuel through the side here because one of these wasn't tight. And what had happened is one of these had broke off, and the stud was still in the carburetor block. So somebody had been tampering with this, broke off this one, and just left 3 to hold down the primer bulb. The primer bulb was oversized. That's not the right size primer bulb for this thing. It takes a smaller one. So that was screwed up. Broken screw, wrong primer bulb. The thing was pouring out fuel. As the fuel was pouring out onto the deck of my trailer here, I could see water droplets dancing on top of the plywood. And so I said, oh shit, the fuel's contaminated too. So this thing's had multiple screw-ups along the way. Drain the fuel out of it. Looks like sewer water, and there's a bunch of shit in the bottom of the container here. You can barely see it as I dance the container around, but there's snot in the bottom of this, and most likely water. This looks like I said, sewer water, kind of brown. So I mixed up a new batch of fuel. These Echo machines take a 50 to 1. I made a batch of 32 to 1. It'll be a little smoky. I'd rather have it a little oily and change the plug every once in a while rather than have it running lean. So in order to get the fourth screw, I just took some channel locks and disassembled this whole side of the priming part of the carburetor, got the stud out, and then went ahead and went to my collection of 2-cycle carbs. This is a Zama still, and I ended up stealing one of the longer screws from the priming side of this unit. So it's always good to keep shit around. You never know when you're going to need a weird screw that I'd probably never be able to find unless I buy the whole complete carburetor. So basically stole what I needed off of this junk one. So if this thing doesn't start now, you can get carbs. I researched it on Fleabay. They've got carb kits, the air filter, fuel line, a plug for between 11 and 13 bucks. So I got 20 into it. If I spend 13, I'm at 33, and maybe I can get 60 for it. So it's not turning out to be a lucrative proposition on this Echo. The longer I mess with it, I'm losing money. I could be working on pushers. So let's try messing with this stupid thing. I'll prime it, put it on choke. The switch on the handle is on the on position. That caught me off guard. A couple of times I must have knocked it to stop, and I've been pulling on this thing wearing out my shoulder, so that's a pisser. So let's see what this is going to do. Start priming it. First couple of primes, it was just air, and now I can feel the squishy fuel. It gets squishy. Okay, the primer bulb is full of fuel, so that's a good sign. This other one here was bypassing the primer bulb because only 3 sides were holding it down. There's some water droplets in there too, so it's a good thing I rectified it, getting rid of the shitty fuel. The blades probably shouldn't be engaged at idle, but I'm not going to mess with it. This is just like a chainsaw. You don't want any action on the moving parts at idle. Okay, that turned out. I was getting discouraged. Didn't dawn on me to check fuel. But I guess when you're dealing with crap from the side of the road, you got to look at everything. Something could sneak by and really cause you a headache. So I probably should have did that right away. Dumped the fuel out. Just as a guarantee, put my own fresh fuel in it. Have you kids and cadets ever messed with anything? Kind of started the project mid-stroke and realized you bypassed a simple thing you overlooked, and you kick yourself in the pants because it was such a stupid mistake. Anyway, I think we rectified this thing. I'm gonna advertise it for 60, so I'll make a little bit more money. I didn't have to mess with an aftermarket carburetor for it. It was just shitty fuel and the wrong primer bulb broken off stud. So if you got space, save some parts. You never know when you're going to need them. Anyway, tip your waitress and wait staff. They're doing an awesome job. They depend on you. Have a good day. Thanks for coming out and checking up the final video on the Echo HC1500 Hilo Charlie 1500. And you guys have a great day. Thanks.